Waiting on him.
I'm here. I'm totally here.
He's totally here. Okay.
All right. Okay. Let's get going. Take your phone away.
Yeah.
You tell him. You tell him. Hey there, frackers. Okay, so we now are into episode 7, known as 6 Degrees of Separation, and together, as always, it's...
Pete.
Rich.
And I'm Dan, otherwise known as Twisted View. So, starting on this one, this is a very heavy Giaus episode, probably the heaviest Giaus episode we've had probably since the actual miniseries. So, we'll start as usual, roundtable. Thoughts and feelings on the episode overall?
Good episode. Really good episode. As you mentioned... Giaus, Baltar, heavily infused episode. I mean, really, it was just focused on him and his comeuppance. And yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see what you two think, because I was a bit confused to the episode about certain things and how, you know, what the implications are of certain characters coming and going out and whatnot. But great episode. Loads of really classic Giaus Baltar one-liners. There's also that funny moment, wasn't there, when they're trying to work out the Cylon ship, where he says something like, "If you like her gooing all over you," something. I can't remember what that line was. But some really good stuff. I mean, it still blows my mind that 6 has now come into the episode, into.
One of you can see her.
You can all see her.
She's standing right next to you.
You're the man responsible for the Holocaust. I'm here to see that you're exposed and sentenced to
the vision of the main characters in a physical form, and I really didn't know how to process her. Okay, I've got many questions. If she knew she was a Cylon, if she was telling the truth, it was a big ruse. I mean, I was still trying to work all that out. But yeah, I mean, great episode, and I'm still trying to process where we go from here now, because I thought, as I said to you when watching, I thought,
And I now acknowledge that you are the one true God.
he never learns. Like he never. Gaius, after pleading for his life, would turn a corner, and it finished with him not learning anything, and I just don't. I'm really confused.
Interesting. Well, we'll see. Pete, thoughts and feelings overview.
Absolutely loved it. I mean, this is, as you said, this was Giaus focused, and he's been really quiet. So to have him come back in full force, I think everything that we saw over this episode was James Callis. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Proximity, yeah, great episode. I think what you got to see here was James Callis, the actor who plays Gaius, just absolutely. He got many different ranges and time of interactions. Yeah, I felt like he went through the full emotional blender, so to speak. You know, it's kind of like it was the shock, it was the reasoning, the pleading, the insanity of the sitting on the toilet and.
You forgot to wash your hands.
Well, in the space of 5 minutes, he's gone to Adama, to the president, to Gator.
You know, trying to erase the evidence.
Toilet scene,
and then that point where you're sitting there and he's begging and pleading, you're thinking, oh, maybe he has turned a page here, and then all of a sudden it was like, he's pleading, and then that he's pleading for his life, he's asking for God to intervene, and then what happens? You get like the flip.
I think we see there, and we're sort of jumping to the end of that. But if you actually look back over the episode as well, and we saw it at various points, in true Gaius fashion as the rat, the second he was backed into a corner, we saw first of all the pleading and demands with Adama and Colonel Ty, like when they were showing the picture in there, and he's like, wait.
It's a long way from proof, Miss Godfrey.
Thank you, Commander.
I can't tell anything from that.
Thank you, Colonel Ty.
And they were like, well, that's not enough evidence. Thank you. Yes, you're a good man. Yes, and then you see all that kind of like. So what he starts with is kind of trying to build others up and to do that. And then when that doesn't go his way, suddenly he's then on the phone to the president. and he's trying to get the president to help him out. And then when that doesn't go his way, then he's in the stools with like he's actually to get to the at his bottom. He's like there on the toilet trying to. And then when that doesn't go his way, suddenly sabotage. And then when that doesn't go his way, finally when he's literally got his back to the wall and there's no other avenues, then it's
I will devote the rest of what is left of my wretched life to doing good.
begging God.
The God that he denounced earlier in the episode.
Yes.
Yeah,
so...
it's I wanted to bring up this because the beginning of the episode where we see the interaction between Giaus and Six, like she is obsessed with God, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around the whole Cylon God thing.
Last bit for this before we get into that, because I want to talk about that more fully.
Yeah.
So the last thing I had about that, with him pleading with God at the end, which we'll bring back around first full circles, there's a quote which is the last refuge of the scoundrel.
The last refuge of a scoundrel
Is praying to God.
Ah, okay.
So I thought that was an interesting thing based on our terminology for Gaius, and the fact we've referred to him as a rat multiple times, and then I remembered that quote and I was like, interesting.
That's actually a really good quote. But yeah, again, this full circle type thing that we're getting in a lot of the episodes. We had it in the last one, but in this, at the beginning of the episode, he's denouncing God. He's in his arguments with Six, they're arguing about that fact, and she storms out of his his mind fuck palace, whatever the fuck we're calling it. And it's kind of, and on one hand, it's sort of he's staying very true to his at the beginning. He, as a man of science and logic, and everything that he is brilliant. He, God does not fit within his world.
Belief system.
He's too egocentric to be a God believer. So obviously, to see him in his darkest moment go against that was quite, poignant.
And I think as an overall theme for this, in that point, is that what you're seeing here, because I disagree with your analysis that by the end, he hadn't changed at the moment. Because I do think that the whole point of this was, and the point of Six, so if we take it from the point that at the beginning, with headsix and the Six that's in his head talking about God and belief and that, and he, like you say, he kind of threw it in the face of God. I felt that the entire idea and the episode as a whole was bringing it back round to this is his test.
Oh, it's massive, his test,
God.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To encapsulate belief. And by the end of it, we finally got to where he needed to be, which was praying to God. And I think that at a certain point, when he thought he was literally going to die, there's a part of that prayer that was genuine.
So you think now that he will look at this and go, I prayed to God and God listened?
I think that I don't think it was necessarily as such to get him to say God listened, but I think from the perspective of the Six in his head that's been his moral compass, it's to get him now more emphatically involved in their belief system. Because what she proved to him was, I went away, your life went to shit.
Right.
I came back, things are back on track.
Oh, well, you say that.
Really?
I mean, she went away and was the agent of what put him under the cosh like that. I mean, there's still plenty.
But I think that was part of the plan.
Yeah, exactly. She was like saying, "I have more influence in your life. I am your godlike figure. I am God to you."
So coupling it to the previous episode, what did she say to him? You won't like me when I'm angry.
Also true. So, and I think that, but again, I'm still very much like when I think about Cylons and God, because Cylons being beings that are machine, and they have more of a godlike belief than the humans do. So I'm still very curious as to where they get this belief in God, and whether it's the human mimicry,
that's interesting,
and
as
they're
well.
mimicking us,
Especially with this,
But
Sharon and the ship. It's like,
This is weird.
and where did you get that from? And the everything that whole sort of idea that it's all sort of like linked or hive mind or whatever. I mean, it's just
It's like, just as a point on that with the God thing, just for Six, did you also notice that the name that she gave herself
right
was God?
Yeah, God, yeah, of course, yeah.
It didn't click until the end, if I'm completely honest. But I thought, because what that also was, because it was great to see her, in the flesh, well, you think is in the flesh.
So
because the thing is, though, with the way that she disappeared, I still cannot remember, or I have doubts about whether she has the ability to implant herself into other people's minds in the way that she does with Giaus.
However, he saw the glasses at the end.
On
the table.
So she's real.
Really?
She's real.
Yeah, Commander Dharma.
All right. Okay.
So this is the bit.
In that case, that
No, she's definitely real. The bit I can't work out is, and again, I don't understand if the six that's in his head disappeared, materialized for everyone, did what she needed to do, carried out the plan, tried to get him framed, believe in God, whatever, the test, and then disappeared, and now's reappeared in his head. I don't know if this is the same six or that physical six is sitting somewhere.
My take on it
talking
is
to
the
him.
physical six, the one that was there saying that she was got Thingy Godfrey.
Yeah.
I think she's one of the actual Cylons, like the ones that we see on the planet and stuff, and separate from the head six.
Right. So the head six is something totally
I feel
different.
like they're
right.
two different beings and two different things. Yeah. I don't feel like the events were
convenient, are they?
I think the events were kind of coincidental in that she left when she came on, but at the same time, I think that actually, because if you think the big theme there was around faith, religion, and God has a plan, the Cylons have a plan, all that kind of rhetoric, I think that her disappearing when he then, so that he could be at his lowest, was part of the overall plan. I just don't think it's part of the Cylon plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the other thing I would like that I put here as well is that obviously the twist that she's gone from being in his mind to being in his environment, causing trouble, is also that argument they had around the whole God denial. I'll call it that for the sake of being easy. But I've also written here gaslighting. Just a little bit. I think that because effectively what she's doing is she's manipulating his surroundings into changing his emotional beliefs, which effectively is not that's what a gaslighter would do. No,
Mm-hmm.
they would make you see things their way through putting you under emotional stress.
Yes,
it's kind of he definitely needs to be brought down a peg or two, but I don't think to the point where they're just absolutely destroyed. They're breaking him down emotionally to bring him back up again.
Also, I really did like when she's come in and the way they did it, bringing us right the way back to...
so good.
Well, also, did you notice that the way she's then turned up and said this guy was part of the whole thing? She brought up the Doctor from the Olympic carrier from the first episode.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that story plot from the first episode of 33 has come back to bite him in the butt.
I just loved it. I just thought the way it was done, the way it was shot, the fact that you even for a second go as a viewer, she's real. They can all see her. That's and the way it was played out and acted was brilliant. She turned something like military uniform, and I think this is why I'm kind of drained, because the entire episode I was constantly questioning: does she really mean that? Is this another character? Is that like a double bluff? What's going on with the Dharma? Why is she trying to kill? I was just constantly questioning everything she did. Like, is she real in this scene or not? Like, is this all that sort of stuff? So, yeah, I mean, I found it really intense, watching it, but. A great episode, yeah. Great.
And the great thing about that as well is when the whole thing of what I liked about the end of all of that, where they kind of figured it out, is the idea that because we at the time were thinking, she's gone too far with Dharma. She's tipped her hand, right? But that's all part of the plan. Because like Gator says right at the very end, it's almost like she wanted to be found.
Yeah.
This when I re-looked at it. It was poorly done. It was easy,
right? Which
leads me to believe was also coming on too strongly with Adama, part of that plan.
And the thought of another body next to yours.
Overplayed.
She's overplayed it. I was about to say, yeah.
Like, wants to be found, wants to be suspicious. They want to do it because at the end of the day, there is a want there for Giaus to be almost inoculated from suspicion.
Well, it's like I said to you when we were watching it. I said, it's odd how. For ages, they were trying to piece it together, trying to find out what the Suns are up to, this and that. And it's almost like just recently, the Suns almost want to be caught. Like they sort of put themselves in plain view, or they're just making it very easy to sort of. They're making themselves very. Originally, they were trying to find out when these ships were going to turn up, and it was all random and everything. And Now the Cylons are just turning up unannounced.
And I think that's somewhat to do with it, because obviously originally they're trying to blend in, because all part of the plan was to take out everybody on the planets, and it's like a foul sweep. When that didn't go to plan, i.e. the Galactica managed to get away and all this, they've then manoeuvred to, right, we need to turn the plan on its head. Stealth was the original option to do the surprise attack.
Yeah.
Now we need to sow dissent in the remainder, like get them turning on each other almost, because we're struggling to keep up with them in a physical capacity to just wipe them out. So it's like they're playing a different tactic to get the job done.
Yeah. And I think there was a lot of... Because what I wrote here was that in the summary of the episode, I was like, guys focused, how quickly people will flip in a given situation. And next to that, it just says confirmation bias, because it was amazing how many people, they kind of show great admiration and respect for Gaius up until that point. But they deep down, they had that, that lingering thought about who he really is. He came onto he got on board the Galactica or Colonial 1 because he got rescued. And, people immediately just started flipping on him one by one. Laura showing up in the, in the prison. Everyone was just started turning their back on him because that's what they really felt about him deep down. Yeah. And this accusation brought that to the very centre, the foreground. The only person who stood by him,
Gator.
Yeah, Lieutenant Gator, who has a lot of respect for him, who may be a bit more blue-eyed about the whole thing, or green around, because he's still a respected military official, but he's still young enough to go, this is a celebrity. Gaius Baltar to him is a celebrity, and he's worked with him, and he's got that personal relationship, so he thinks this guy is not untouchable because he's respecting the rule of law, but he's still going, I still believe in him. So, in fact, what you've seen is Adama, Roslin, everybody go, you're a fucking traitor. And this one guy went, you know what, I'm going to listen to him and I'm going to do it again. And as a result, he exonerates him. So I think that this actually begins to show where the Cylons are showing back up, is to remind you that they're there, that they are a threat, because they don't want the humans being complacent about the fact that, they think, we haven't heard from the Cylons in a while. We've had a few episodes where they're not being attacked, from the outset by loads of ships. Because let's face it, if the Cylons wanted to, they just send an absolute crap ton of starships and crush the fleet. We won't go back to what we were saying. They're observing. They're observing the humans now as the minority, as effectively the rats.
I mean, something I also found interesting, like when he's pleading with Adama and doing all that bit, is that in amongst all those pleas and him trying to save himself, he's actually telling the truth as well. For once, he starts going, she's a Cylon.
Yeah, I know.
I found it interesting that like say, when you said, in terms of Rat, he's off the edge of the reservation, but at the same time, this is where you're getting some of the most truthful Gaius coming out as well. The only thing that he's doing is he's omitting the fact that he did help them, but he didn't. And I agreed with him, I'm innocent. Technically, he is innocent in as far as that he didn't help them willingly. He was bamboozled. He was, hot leggy blonde, and that was that. He just, gave up all of humanity in a heartbeat, but not necessarily actively by choice.
No. I mean, I thought this episode was great. It was a long time coming for him. I just loved watching him squirm and get caught again, and you couldn't wiggle out of it, and somehow he did, and obviously that's God's plan. But I mean, it's just, the whole thing was great. But I mean, obviously the speech that Roslin gave him was brutal. I mean, prison, I mean, it was literally just like, you're dead to me. I mean,
that's what I wrote down here, is Laura gets down to brass tacks.
I mean, she's just like, but I mean, it was brutal.
It was another one of those ego checks for Gaius, because this whole thing up until now, episode 1, that was an ego check for him. And unfortunately, like you said, he didn't willingly do something, but he supported what was the downfall of 12 colonies. And this is again him being brought to that point where he's not infallible. He's not, the big cocky, celebrity rock star type character that he was before. The big celebrity rock star type character that he was before, and you're going to see a lot more of this. She will find a way to keep checking him and making him accountable.
Oh yeah, of
and
course.
Is kind of either until he toes the line, or he just acts in a way that is more consistent with how Six wants him to behave. Because that's how I see it. I see it as that she is leading him. throughout all of this. And it's
completely.
Sort of, and like that, she's playing into his nature to survive. So that's why you see that. But I think there was some great comedy in this.
Sorry, we're weaning you off the magic pills starting today, and besides, I need them for myself.
There's loads, absolutely loads. But I mean, at some point, I did think maybe it got a bit too
slapstick.
He was a bit he was becoming a bit too animated, especially when they're carting him off and stuff. And I was a bit like, okay, but they gave the actor playing, Giaus.
James Callis.
They gave him a bit of a rope really to just go ham it up a bit here, like just It was funny to watch though. It was funny to watch.
I think well, not even just Giaus, but I think the other bits that stood out, because Giaus took up a lot of this episode, but I think the bits that really stood out for me were the Ty and Starbuck verbal sparring.
Yes,
I thought that was fantastic because.
Well, I figured you wouldn't bounce back so fast.
Is there something you wanted, or did you just drop by to torment me, sir?
Ty was right. He did. She said
she needed it.
She was no. She said that won't work on me, and it completely worked.
Yeah,
on her.
yeah. She needed.
But it was also playing against her pride and her.
Why did it work on her though?
It was him, isn't it? It's him.
No, it's not necessarily her though, because Lee was also giving her stick as well.
So why did it work with Ty then when it didn't with Lee?
Because she respects him. She needs that.
I don't think it's to do. Nah, I don't think it's to do with that. It's not necessarily that. I think the reason why it works with Ty, unlike anyone else, is because the whole point of reverse psychology is that you don't really mean it. You're just doing it to get them to do it. With Ty, it worked because he did mean it.
Do you actually think that reverse psychology crap is going to work on me?
I really don't care what you think, Lieutenant. All I know is that every day you spend in that bed is another day that I have my opinion of you confirmed.
Yeah.
Like his final part, because she even pulled him out. It's like, oh, you think that's going to work on me? He's like, I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, I think you're rubbish. And that's why it worked, because it did what it needed to do because he genuinely believes it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thought that was just brilliant, because you need to bring her back into the fold, or you can't just leave her in bed.
No.
I think that the when they're just kind of bantering back and forth when she's inside the Raider, like, why can't it be a pony? And I thought that was really good.
That does bring me, actually, funnily enough, that we'll continue that thought process to what I mentioned earlier, which is I do think it interesting that she seems, like you said, she's got this affinity for things and stuff like that, and she's good with the Raider and stuff. And I found it interesting that you had this idea with Boomer coming up and obviously acting very weirdly.
Treat it like a thing and expect it to.
Well, I'm sitting with Asylum then. I mean, she literally forgot her programming for about 2 minutes after being in contact with another Cylon.
And the Raider, because she has an affinity to it, unbeknown to her, but then so does Starbuck, unbeknown to her, but maybe for different reasons.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Starbuck is a Cylon. Maybe I'm going to prove wrong later, but
we'll wait until we get to that part of this to discuss that. But yeah,
obviously anything's possible, right? But I do find it fascinating. The episode was focused on Giaus Baltar, the traitor, Six turning up as Shelley Godfrey,
yeah.
All this sort of focus, and right in the background is the blaringly obvious Boomer,
the blaringly obvious Cylon,
coming out as being a Cylon, having an affinity with the ship, and then right at the end, it being written on the mirror, Cylon. And it's like, all this is going in the background. No one's paying attention because it's all focused on Giaus.
Yeah, so they've all missed.
I've all missed all this obvious. I found that fascinating.
Now, funnily enough, on that, where it was written on there that she was a Cylon, who do you think wrote it? Do you think somebody knows she's a Cylon, or do you think
she wrote it herself?
Or did she write it herself? Is it like another part of her trying to tell her?
As she was having mind sex with the other one, I wasn't too sure.
She was having mind sex.
Well, obviously her other body, her other Cylon was having sex with Halo.
Like, this is the thing, is that her programming, like, she's fighting that, and we know that she is,
right, because
we saw it in the cockpit when it was saying water detected, and she's like not doing anything. So yeah, the thing is, I wouldn't spoiler it even if I knew, but I genuinely can't remember this bit. So it's kind of, who's sitting there going, are you a Cylon? And there's plenty of people who would have reason to suspect that.
Well, definitely Tyrrell now.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyrrell was like...
the look on his face.
When she did that bit with the ship, he literally was like, what am I hearing? Like, who are you anymore? I don't know.
I don't think it's Tyrrell, though.
No, but what I'm saying is...
No.
Tyrrell's listening to Boomer
talk
about the ship in a way that he was unfamiliar with it. And also, he started to question who she was, because he was looking at her like, who are you?
Yeah.
So he's definitely going to be questioning her. But yeah, we shall see.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm just sitting there trying to go, what did they do with that Raider? And now we're going to find out, because that Raider is now going to have a part in the story.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's like, I just can't remember what they do with it. But I know that it'll be a part of the story. But yeah,
they're going to get Will Smith and drive it into the mothership, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Peace.
Welcome to Earth.
They've not got to Earth yet.
Yeah.
Which finally leads me to, I suppose, Hilo and what's going on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Bound chicken wow wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a very short kind of interaction, but it was that thing of, I have feelings for you, and then she was just like, fuck it, and then she dove on the opportunity.
That's literally what she thought.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it's a great character piece for Hilo, because the big thing for me that it demonstrates there is what a great guy is he is, because he's then basically said, look, you were with the chief, like, appreciate you guys had your thing going on. And she was like, yeah, it was me with the chief, sure, yeah, that was the thing. But it kind of goes to show, again, part of his character is that he's clearly liked her for a longer period, but he had that wherewithal to take that step back and not sort of try and get involved in stuff. She was with another guy or that. So it kind of shows and even now he's like, if you have feelings for him, he's like kind of testing the waters a little bit, not necessarily just sort of jumping and going, so it's you and me, let's repopulate the Earth.
Yeah.
He put the ball in her court, no pun intended. No, because he did. He said, I like you, and that she's then just gone. I think it's a part of their plan. But he didn't hold back though. He was like, he wasn't so honourable to say, "Are you still with the chief?" The moment she kissed him, he was just like, "Well, you've given me the fucking signal. I'm good." So. It's like, it doesn't matter if they're together or not.
But did he get that in writing?
What happens on Earth stays on Earth.
Right.
No. What happens on Caprica
stays
on Caprica. Like, it's...
And cue lightning.
His honour is only as good as his options.
His options are
option one.
Yeah, but that was the first option he wanted.
I mean, in fairness, if you had one option and that was your option...
Not a bad option.
Yeah, that's not a bad option.
Be the best 30 seconds of my life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing I was going to say is with the two boomers, obviously Boomer in the, on Galactica, who's still learning empathy and this, that and the other, and starting to fall in love with the Cylon ship. The one down on Caprica seems to have an array of emotions, because she understood the objective when they were getting on. I mean, so...
And I think some of that is that she has an awareness, because she's aware of what she is, that helps her to...
Completely.
Yeah.
She's...
And it was also, like, I love the animation that when they were getting it on, her spine started going...
Red.
The
same
thing
with, 6, when she got it on with guys. That seems to be a Cylon thing. So what they should really be doing is getting all the...
doggy styles out of the question. Yeah. It's like, hey, babe, why's your spine glowing?
Yeah, you can't really...
Sunburn?
Yeah, the problem with that is then if they do it again and it's not glowing, then you'd be like, what, is it not good enough anymore?
Anyway.
Ending with the politics situation. I really liked I love the fact that behind closed doors with Rosalind and Giaus, you got her true opinion. She's like, when it comes down to it, we've got to go with our gut, and my gut tells me.
And the moment they told me it was your face in the photo, I knew I believed it.
Oh,
you're involved.
It was brutal. It was
but in front of the cameras, I would like to welcome back to Fold, my friend.
I mean, that's the nastiest side of politics and Rosalind. I mean, that is...
That just goes to show she understands politics very, very well.
She's very good at it, yeah.
And I like the idea that behind closed doors, they now know that there's this, look, I don't trust you, but then in front of the public, say, hey, I trust you.
Yeah.
Or did the proof actually, as I said, that like she had confirmation bias, and it was like, okay, this photo makes
confirmation
me
bias.
believe my suspicions about you are right, and then somebody's gone, yeah, but this is a fake, and that he's in fact not as guilty.
Okay, I'm going to counteract you, and I'm not going to counteract him by actually counteracting you now, but with a clip from a previous episode.
He's a strange one. She didn't think he's been awake for 5 days. I just thought that, she might maybe let that slip, but,
It's a strange one.
I think Rosalind's always a good judge of character, though. I think she knows how to bugger. Okay.
Where you actually pointed out that she is a very good judge of character, etc.
Yeah.
But what I'm counteracting you with is I actually think that first statement to him behind closed doors is genuine.
Okay.
Rather than confirmation bias. I think that's what she really thinks.
It was too real.
Yeah.
It was too embellished. It was. She just was like.
She did that.
It wasn't
that scene very well done.
Yeah, but I mean, she just didn't. It wasn't like she said, I'm hoping. What did she say? Like, I'm hoping I'll be wrong or anything. She went, and when I saw that photo, I knew that you were right.
You're involved
just
somehow.
Waiting for him to come up short. So, brutal.
So, anything else written down? Any other thoughts? Any other feelings?
I think the two quotes that stood out in this episode: "No more Mr. Nice Guys." I thought that was absolutely spot
Great.
on. So well done. And also Dr. Cottle.
Oh yeah.
Saying, we're weaning you off the magic pills. I need them for myself. That was while smoking a cigarette in a clinical environment. I just think that whole character is,
well, like you said, it's like an SNL sketch walking around, isn't he?
He's fantastic. He's just so funny. He's just like, we're weaning you off the good stuff. And I think, that's kind of, that is all I've got.
Any other final thoughts from you before we move on?
No, it's I'm hoping we get a lot of answers in the next episode to things that we've discussed and we've seen. So bring on the next one. Yeah.
Okay. So and I don't see there being much change in this from the previous episode. But anyone made it onto the Death Note yet? Do you think anyone else? Has there been anyone else we think actually,
I've said Hilo before, haven't I?
You've said Hilo before. I think Hilo's made it on.
I think his situation's getting a bit too precarious.
Although, funnily enough, he had a chance, where they were south or north.
He did, but that's what I mean. He's too involved with that boomer on that planet. So we'll see how that's going to go. I think that's going to come back to bite him in the arse.
Okay. Anyone else, or do you think it's just Hilo? That's it. Okay, so Hilo may have. I'm going to hold you down to this. Are you going to say now that you're pretty confident Hilo time is up?
On the chopping board.
He's on the chopping board. And when do you think happened? If you think of it as a 4-season arcs, do you think he's done by the end of the first season?
Oh, absolutely not. He's definitely getting back to the ship, and they're going to, they rekindle and relationships, and they're going to find out what he did, and blah blah blah. I think he's going to be used with the rest of the crew for a season or something. But I think.
You think he's a good one where we're getting used to him, and then it's
you can invest. Yeah, all the things you guys have been saying about how good he is and good man, and that keeps coming up. I think.
Oh yeah, just through and through. You, at this point, you've not seen. I've not seen anything that he's done where I'm like.
Yeah.
Like what we were saying when we were talking about the Ratometer before, we said sometimes you can use people like Lee and like Hilo and that keeps the truth,
keeps the scale honest.
Yeah. Which leads us on to the Ratometer, and I am expecting there to be some change this time round. So,
what makes you say that? What makes you say that? He's same old guy.
He said himself he's innocent. He's at least a one.
Same old guy until he started crawling up the walls of the lab like an actual rat, trying to get out and burning the tape. I mean, he went off the Richter scale. I think the Ratometer just fell off the grid. The Ratometer. I mean,
do you think 10 is now
whatever? Just tip it over the edge.
Tip it over. He's an 11.
He's just, in fact, take him on the meter and just throw him off the edge.
Throw him off the edge. Okay.
His guy's bolt up.
Try and animate that.
It will never go as high as this unless he murders someone in cold blood. It will never be as high as this.
I have a. Yeah.
This is. He went full on. I've got to save my own skin. Yeah, it was.
I think when you saw him bargaining with God, I think that was definitely a new. I'm not going to say
you don't think bargaining with somebody in the toilet was.
I thought it was funny.
It went pretty low though.
Yeah,
wouldn't even let the guy drop a deuce.
I mean, the thing is though, is that he hadn't been accused of this sort of thing before.
I'm an innocent man who is being convicted in the court of public opinion without trial.
Wait until you hit 2024.
He would get cancelled. So
He'd be so cancelled.
Where it was, the proof was there, and not only that, it's to shock the fact that the woman who's been on his end and in his mind for as long as the show has been going, she's then turned round and double crossed him and chucked him under the bus, with the implication that he basically enabled the Cylon destruction of 12 colonies. So I think his action and reaction is completely warranted. So if anything, I would say he's definitely further up the scale. But I wouldn't be like.
Where would you rate him?
I would say he's easily 9 at the moment. I think
so. You're saying a 9. You're saying the scale no longer exists. The scale is
fell
a
off
dot.
it.
Yeah, the line is a dot to you.
He literally fell off it. Like, you can't. The ratometer was designed specifically for this, and he went way off it. I mean, he just. You at one point he went, "Oh my god, it looks like a rat trying to crawl up the wall." In that,
she lit a
I do wonder if.
Look how he scurries around.
Yeah,
fire under him. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He
Yeah,
didn't,
but-
but
let me put
he
it-
can do a lot.
Let me put it to you like this: would you see Adama doing the same?
Two entirely different characters.
They are, but what I'm saying is that.
Funnily enough, in the previous episode, when somebody came at Adama, he just turned around and was
Yeah.
like, "Get the fuck out."
Yeah, he had. Yeah, but this is the thing. Giaus has influence, but he doesn't have power.
Ooh.
Adama has influence and power. Like, Gaius Baltar is still a civilian. He doesn't have an official rank or title. Everything he has been given to him by Adama and Rosalind in secrecy. Because apart from those few people, who
And
knows
his
what
fame.
he is doing?
And
So
those
his
two people
position
took it away
is
from him.
tenuous at best. So I think that if we're talking about how devious and bad Gaius can be, he can be worse. I think he's just reacted to his situation. He's been very rat-like in trying to survive, and it worked. But I don't want to sit there and say the scale has been destroyed, because I think he's still capable of more.
Yeah.
But it's. I'm also speaking from a position that I kind of remember some of the stuff that happened. I still know where this ends up.
He knows
so
where the
I
scale
can't,
goes.
So I will say, he's definitely been more of a rat.
He's going to have to
But
extend this scale.
Yeah, the
how a
scale's going to
rat
have to go from a
should
1
act.
to 100 at some point, I think.
Yeah, I think I think he's acted how he's supposed to act.
I would make the argument in defence of Rich as well, based on everything we've seen of Gaius thus far. I would say on the scale as is, keeping the scale true, using somebody like Hilo or Lee to what we're seeing here, I can see absolutely why he's maxing out the scale right now.
Oh yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to currently sit him at a 10. He's at the max end of the scale. He's looking over the edge, possibly teetering on the edge, depending on what God thinks of what he's been up to.
Yep.
Right, and this leads us finally to this Cylon detector. So again, have we seen anything? Do we feel like anything's happened here that might change some of our opinions around possible Cylons?
Oh, right, Sun detector. Yeah, I mean, well, you keep emphasising Starbuck. I'm unsure.
I just
about
thought it was
that.
kind of interesting. I was just drawing, just in case, I was just drawing your attention to the
I get that.
the two
I
things
get
that were going on there, because we do know that Sharon is a Cylon, and it was I just found the behaviours interesting. It could be that Starbuck is as human as you come, and that in and of itself is the polar opposite to what we saw between a Cylon and a human. I just thought I'd throw it out there and see what you think.
No change for me. Is he a Cylon? Was that a copy?
No
I
change?
think we've got enough characters that are Cylons or potentially could be Cylons. So no change for me.
And also, like, we've got 4 seasons of this, so it's sort of if we already know we know 4 Cylons.
We know of 6 Sharon and then 2 fellas, so Leobin and Doral.
That's it. Yeah. So we know 4 out.
So we know
12,
4 out of,
and we're halfway through season 1.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to
and I don't necessarily always expect the it to go back and forth. But I suppose the reason why I keep asking is, even though there's only 12 and it will be revealed, obviously I'm interested in whether or not suspicions arise around different people episode to episode. Now, that, like you say, may not change too much, but at the same time, you might not be necessarily looking at people with a suspicious eye at the same time.
Yep.
Okay, any more for any more?
No.
Nothing else, no.
Nothing.
So say we all?
So say we all.